Now, ladies and gentlemen, in 2022, I made an extremely sensitive video about an extremely sensitive topic to do with a TikTok account called Wren Eleanor. Now, the actual subject of what I was speaking about came from a lot of viral theories that were going around in 2022 and 2021 about this mysterious TikTok account. A lot of people were extremely worried about some of the things surrounding the account at that time and overall what that account represented. This was a very, very serious situation which actually had no resolution whatsoever, because in 2024, things haven't gotten better, they haven't improved, and in fact, they've only gotten a million times worse. You see, over the years, I've covered a lot of topics about this certain subject since my Wren Eleanor video, and I'm sad to say that it is only becoming an increasing problem, not just with Wren Eleanor's accounts, but there have been a lot of similar situations to Wren Eleanor that have appeared over the last 2 years and that I have spoken about and criticized and explained why this problem is not going to get better until TikTok do something about it and until the parents of these children do something about it. But I understand a lot of you right now are probably a little bit confused to what I'm talking about. Of course, I've not gone into any details so far, and yes, I did cover this situation 2 years ago, but given that the theories for this situation are only getting bigger and far worse in 2024, I think it is important that I retell the story of what happened in the early days of this story, but also go through the more recent developments, including a possible FBI investigation, including more disturbing communities being exposed, and just in general how parents on TikTok are exploiting their children in the worst possible way. So yes, at this point of the video, a lot of you have probably got the question of who actually is Wren Eleanor, because obviously I've introduced her, but who and what actually is this account? Well, to state it lightly, Wren Eleanor is a TikTok account with 17 million followers, where the mother, Jacquelyn, documents her child Wren Eleanor's life. She uploads videos of her playing with certain toys, just videos of her kids sat around, and just in general, every single TikTok on this account is always most likely going to be Wren Eleanor, who really is the star of this account. And you may have noticed that a lot of the videos, in fact all of the videos that I just showed you, were completely and utterly blurred, and that is mainly because I personally am not comfortable with showing somebody of the age of Wren Eleanor in my own YouTube video. And that is because Wren Eleanor is 4 years old. And when this original controversy and theory started to kick off, she would have only been around the age of 2 years old. In fact, Wren Eleanor's whole life has pretty much been documented since she was 0 years old. It seems that every single example of Wren living her life is available to anybody on the internet right now to consume. And that of course has led to her getting a fan base of 17 million followers. This is no little deal. This is no small thing happening on the internet right now. This is an extremely significant profile on TikTok, and overall is a bit of a representative of the platform in itself. Having over 10 million followers on TikTok says that TikTok definitely know who you are, and in my opinion, they definitely know about all of the controversies going on, and that is very important for this situation. Because of course, platforms like TikTok have been readily criticized for their controlling and treatment over child exploitation on their platform, and this today is another example of that. But of course, before we get into any of that, we really need to shift our eyes to the parents, because the key part of this whole story is of course Wren's age of 4 years old, and immediately, in my opinion, this is where the problems start to begin. Because obviously, a child cannot consent to being in this content. Sure, she may be at an age where she can now communicate to some extent, but obviously, she isn't going to understand the true scope of what is happening on her page. Wren Eleanor, in my opinion, does not know that she has 17 million people watching her on a daily basis, and I don't think any child at that age will be able to understand that. Personally, as somebody with a social media profile of 1 million subscribers, I can recognize that that is a lot of people, yet at the same time, when I really think about the scope of how many people watch me, I'm not bragging here, but I'm just saying, even at the age of being in my mid-20s, I still really don't comprehend how many people that is. So with a child who is 4 years old, I think that is only far worse. So yes, I do not think that a child can consent to being on this page where she is receiving millions of views per video and millions of likes. But ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously a bit of a minute issue. Of course it is an issue, but ultimately in the grand scheme of everything that we're about to go into, this is a very minor thing, and it's something that I would apply to pretty much every single family channel out there. I personally think that family channels are just absolutely garbage. I feel like the genre, for the most part, given everything, given like, you know, all of this and all of that, I just don't think that it's a good thing that should happen, because I think when it comes to the algorithm and creating content, monetized content in particular, I think that that pushes people into doing crazy things, especially when it comes to family YouTube channels where they're going to put their children at risk, they're going to exploit their children if it means that the bills will continue to be paid and the money will continue to come in. And I feel like this situation with Wren Eleanor, in terms of that, is obviously the exact same to multiple other situations that I have covered in the past. Obviously, family channels are bad. Should a child really be exposed to 17 million people on a day-to-day basis? No, I feel like that's a very, very obvious answer, and honestly, if you disagree with me, I'm a little bit confused by your logic, and I would love to know down below, because ultimately when it comes to the parents documenting their children in this genre of content, it creates the moral dilemma of, can a kid truly consent, but also, is it really fair to give this child this type of life? Because in my opinion, it does deprive the child of a real normal life, but also it then risks the child of more sinister motives such as bullying and harassment. But of course, that isn't just the only sinister motive that lies out there when it comes to children being exposed to millions on the internet every single day. Because this is where we start to get into the more sinister and dark and creepy aspect of everything surrounding Wren Eleanor. Right now, you just see this child and think this is a mother trying to make money off the kid, but ultimately, that leads to some extremely dark paths. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the video where things start to go extremely disturbing. But before we get into that, I do just want to say, could you please subscribe to the YouTube channel, because these videos take a very long time to make. Jacquelyn has to edit all these videos as well. We both put a lot of effort into these videos. I really appreciate it if you could support the channel by subscribing. I understand that I am being, you know, a little bit of a beg right now, but ultimately, if you don't ask, you don't get. But of course, it is time we actually get into one of the most depressing and sad stories I've had the misfortune of researching. And it all starts with Reddit, where a Reddit page was created called r/Wren Eleanor, where basically people who had seen Wren Eleanor's page had started to notice some extremely strange and weird things. Ultimately, at this point, it was just some people with a little bit of suspicion, but suspicion does come from somewhere. Of course, the phrase that we will be using today is "there is no smoke without fire," and ladies and gentlemen, this isn't just a fire, this is the Great Fire of London. Basically, people started to notice that on some of Wren's TikToks, there were strange anomalies of where some TikToks had around 2,000 to 10,000 saves, but then randomly, some of the TikToks had 386,000 saves, and have also been shared 551,000 times. And yes, some TikToks will do very well, some TikToks will get millions of views, and of course that will lead to more shares and more saves, but ultimately some TikToks did extremely well and they didn't necessarily get hundreds of thousands of saves, but some of them did, as you can see here, 45,000 saves, 374,000 saves, and plenty more examples of a lot of TikToks with a lot of confusing amounts of saves. And of course, the main question will always be, why are so many people saving these TikToks of this, at the time, 2-year-old girl? It was very confusing, very suspicious, and of course it led to a lot of theories going around about this page. In particular, some of the TikToks being saved at high amounts were TikToks of where Wren Eleanor was doing things that some of the comments were saying particularly disturbing things about. For example, one of the most it is very uncomfortable to talk about, okay, but one of the TikToks that really had a lot of saves on it was a TikTok where Wren was eating a corn dog, and a lot of the comments were saying very, very disturbing things, and ultimately that TikTok had a lot of saves and shares. And ultimately, it is a little bit confusing, because why would that TikTok of this child eating a corn dog get so many saves in comparison to another TikTok where she's not doing something like that? It was a very strange thing, and it caused a lot of people to look into it and a lot of people to theorize about this, because naturally people were concerned. This is a very strange thing happening here, of where this child is getting extremely popular basically overnight for no particular amazing reason. It wasn't like Wren and her mother was producing amazing content. They were just making regular TikToks of Wren trying products and eating products. And I have seen the argument of people saying, well, maybe people are interested in the products being used in the TikToks, but that ultimately can't be used as a valid argument, in my opinion, based on Wren's own TikTok. Because, for example, here is a TikTok where Jacquelyn is making Wren use certain products, and this has 9 million views, which also has 5,000 saves. Yet this random TikTok here, which only has I say only, it's more views than I get in basically a month, but it only has 3 million views, and yet has significantly more saves in 20,000+ saves. Why is that? It is very confusing to what is going on here. And of course, the problem is, when it comes to a topic like this, is there is always going to be an extremely uncomfortable conversation. Nobody actually wants this thing to be real. Nobody wants there to be some very disturbing things happening behind the scenes, but ultimately, you can't really help but wonder, why are there so many people saving these TikToks? Why are there so many people interested in these TikToks? And ultimately, why are there so many people commenting things like this on the TikToks? Blue-eyed blondie I don't want to read these things out. As I said, ladies and gentlemen, this is an extremely uncomfortable topic, and I'm ultimately going to go through it because we need to speak about these things. It is something that I do regularly speak about on this channel, but ultimately, even 2 years on after covering the topic twice, it's still an extremely uncomfortable thing that there are comments such as, next level smart, she is going to grow up and know everything, smirk emojis. Do I really need to explain the context of what those smirk emojis are usually used for? No, I don't think I do. But then there are more comments such as, please make another bath video with daughter, but I don't need to really go on to read the next part, but ultimately, you can understand this is very weird, because yes, it wasn't just videos of her eating corn dogs, it was also videos of her in a bathtub, in a bath, and people were commenting things like that. It wasn't one comment, it wasn't two comments, it was so many comments about this, and it is absolutely disturbing to read. Looks like she's got plans tonight. 32 likes on this comment, by the way. She's 2, you are down bad, bro. But it doesn't even read there. I don't even want to read this one. It is just obviously outright disturbing. And also there was whatever this is, it's just utterly insane that these comments are even allowed to be posted on TikTok. And ladies and gentlemen, I understand that trolling obviously exists. If I uploaded a video of me eating a banana, obviously some bellend is going to comment something, oh, weird, sus, stuff like that, you know. That's always going to exist. But on Wren's account, it wasn't just when she was eating food or in the bath. There were comments like this on videos of her opening a present. Disturbing comments which suggest wanting her. Even comments on her Instagram page that just... I'm, again, not going to read it, but then you even have fan accounts, because yes, there are fan accounts of Wren. There's an entire universe of Wren Eleanor fan accounts that we're going to go into, saying things like this. And with all of this, of course, it caused a lot of people to theorize even further, look even deeper into this situation and scandal, and realize that things on the Wren Eleanor TikTok page aren't so sweet and innocent, and of course there is something sinister going on here, and it does ask the question of, is the mother responsible? In 2022, my video title was very aggressive and says that Wren Eleanor's mother, Jacquelyn, is exploiting her child for predators, and honestly, I stand by that belief. I stand by that for a multitude of reasons, but the main reason being that Wren Eleanor has clearly seen these comments, and her first thought was that I'm going to delete my pages, I'm going to protect my child. It was I'm going to continue posting and basically just ignore all of this and pretend that none of this is happening. But let's actually look at this title for a second. What did I really mean when I say that she is exploiting her children for predators on the internet? Because ultimately, a mother should be able to post her child on the internet. Of course, any parent should be able to post and celebrate their child on the internet in an ideal world. A world where we don't have to worry about these types of things and worry about how much sinister people there are on the internet. But ultimately, we are not in an ideal world. I know that sounds like I'm being really overly edgy right now, but it is ultimately the truth in this situation. And I feel like the mother, the moment she started posting these things and getting weird comments, she should have acknowledged that and decided to make the adult parent's decision of, I'm not going to risk my child. Because that is what the mother is doing, in my opinion. She is risking her child every single day by consistently posting her on the internet. I don't care what anybody says, that is what I see, and that is what I ultimately believe. Wren Eleanor is putting her child at risk consistently. But also, it's not just that. Because as I said, yes, I would love it if we could live in a world where parents could happily go and post their children and not have to face any repercussions, not have to worry about some creeps on the internet. But ultimately, Wren wasn't posting exactly the most normal of content on this TikTok. And even still today, she still isn't posting relatively normal, family-friendly content. Let's just look at the whole basis of what Wren Eleanor's TikTok account is as a whole. This account isn't Wren and Jacquelyn. As much as she wants to pretend it is 95% Wren Eleanor. Firstly, as I said, Wren Eleanor cannot consent to that, but also, if this is just Wren, then surely this goes against community guidelines. Because the age limit for TikTok is 13 years old, and yes, Wren Eleanor's page is ran by an adult, but it is, I don't know, to me, it kind of does come under some blurred lines of this content is clearly not the mother, it is clearly just fully about this child, which to me, I think you can make the valid argument of this should not be on TikTok. This goes against the guidelines to some extent, in my opinion. But yes, as I also mentioned, the content is really weird. But I am going to be fair here and say that if Jacquelyn went to first post that first ever video of Wren eating food and it got one weird comment, I personally don't believe that that is exactly Jacquelyn's fault. She was doing something innocent, posting her child, she was having fun, but ultimately, you cannot make excuses for when the account starts to get very popular, millions of followers, to then post videos of your kid in the bathtub. To me, you cannot defend that, but then you also cannot defend a very popular TikTok that is still up right now of Wren Eleanor, which involves a lot of adult, and I say adult, but mature pieces of equipment. I don't know why I'm saying it in these ways. Basically, in the TikTok, Wren had a razor and a tampon, and with the razor, she was gesturing shaving her own legs, but then it gets even weirder when she starts to put the tampon lower down. And I don't really need to think I should describe what happens here, but you can ultimately understand what I'm saying here. The TikTok shows her, lowering down the tampon. It's very, very weird. And it starts to, again, ask the question of, is the mother responsible? Yes, she is responsible, in my opinion, for a lot of the creeps that surround her daughter on social media, because she is posting things like that. That is ultimately a very creepy thing. It got millions of views, hundreds of thousands of saves, and she is responsible for posting that. There's no innocent intentions here, in my opinion. She knows what gets clicks, she knows what gets likes, she knows what gets views, and that is why she does these things. I'm not suggesting that Jacquelyn is a terrible person in that essence. I'm saying, though, that the money and the views has clearly gotten to her brain, and she is now willing to do absolutely anything to consistently get those views, even if it means exploiting her daughter. As you can see, I've got the comparison right now of a pretty regular TikTok of Wren Eleanor, which has around 2,000 to 10,000 saves, and then you have the tampon TikTok, which has 500 plus thousand shares. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is obviously very, very suspicious. And does Wren Eleanor's mother know about this? Of course! She's not an idiot, she knows what she's doing, and she is obviously doing this for views and clicks. But not just clicks, also comments like this. Yes, Jacquelyn, you are the reason that your daughter is getting comments like this on her social media profiles. This is because of you. Well, actually, I don't know if we should say this is Wren Eleanor's profile, because ultimately, this is all Jacquelyn. Wren can't consent to any of this. She is a 4-year-old child. I don't personally believe that children should be on social media. As somebody that was on social media as a kid, I don't exactly think it is necessarily good for your brain. I don't think that there's really any need for a kid to be doing those things, especially at 4 years old. Maybe we can limit it to playing RuneScape or something, because that's what I was doing as a kid, but having an entire TikTok profile where 17 million people are viewing you and saying things like this, well, yeah, I just don't really think that's a good idea. And I don't have a child. Yeah, I have some nephews and nieces, but ultimately, I don't have a child, and I still know that what is going on here is bad. It doesn't take somebody with a brain cell to know that this is obviously very, very bad, and it is very clear that the mother is enabling it. An example of that enabling is one of these weird TikToks that I found of where it's a slideshow of the mother and Wren like speaking to each other, and it says, "Do you want to drink my boob?" What? No, silly, you don't have any. Wait, what did I say? Do you want to drink my... What? No way, I saw Daddy stealing my milk last night. Now, obviously, that's an extremely weird thing to post on your daughter's social media. I'm rolling my eyes because obviously the child has actually never had any access to the account, most likely because, you know, they're 4 years old and most likely cannot really use a phone to necessarily the level of a regular adult. But yes, very weird thing to post on your daughter's social media profile, this family-friendly TikTok profile where you're just doing fun and quirky things with your kid. Very, very weird in my personal opinion, and it has caused a lot of people to see this and theorize even further and suggest that the mother definitely is causing the problems and all of the comments that she has been receiving. And I honestly am quite inclined to believe. Ultimately, this video is just an opinion piece and not fact, but when you see things like this, it is hard to not have a very, very negative opinion on Jacquelyn. But yes, because of this, more TikToks started to be made about Wren Eleanor and the mother, and people out there started to get worried, very, very worried for this daughter and what they were being exposed to on the internet every single day. And obviously, I can completely understand why people were worrying and just in general wanting to protect this child. A lot of the comments on Wren's page at the time were saying things like, "Don't listen to the haters, just ignore them, you're just doing the right thing, having fun with your kid." But ultimately, that's just stupid. That is only enabling this terrible behavior. Of course, there are always going to be bullies and haters and people that harass people, but this isn't that. This is just people on the internet seeing a consistent pattern of behavior. They're seeing things repeat. It is history repeating itself. How many times has a parent claimed that they want to make fun and quirky content with their children, and it has gone some dark territories? How many times does that happen? How many times have I had to cover subjects like these? Because in my opinion, it is a situation and topic that is only getting worse as I get older and continue to make YouTube videos. It seems that there is more examples of this every single week, and that is incredibly depressing. I mean, just look at these comments saying suggestive things about food and just tell me that there isn't a problem with what is going on surrounding Wren Eleanor's accounts. I genuinely believe that if Jacquelyn was a good mother and genuinely cared about her child, and I don't usually say that a parent doesn't care about her child, I'm sure she did at one point, but obviously I think that the social media algorithm has plagued her brain, and I think if she still cared for her child, she would see this and just delete her pages. Yes, obviously, I do feel a little bit of empathy in terms of this is the thing that is paying the bills. But surely at this point, you have made enough money saved over to just transition away from this lifestyle. Maybe make content about yourself. I'm sure there is still somewhat of an audience that will consume that and not just content about your 4-year-old child. But ultimately, I don't think she cares. I think she just wants social media views, money, and followers. And ladies and gentlemen, everything that we've just gone through isn't the only reason to why I think these things. In fact, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Wren Eleanor, whatever you want to call it, situation, disgusting predicament, anything. This is only the beginning, because I have recently, in the last week, been going through so many fan accounts of Wren Eleanor. I have discovered basically an entire universe of people that have based their entire Instagram accounts around this child, but not just Wren Eleanor. It seems that there is this weird community of people that have based their entire account around influencer babies, and it is one of the most disturbing things that I have ever had the displeasure of looking into, and it only cements the fact to me personally that Wren Eleanor's mother does not care. But yes, let's get into it. Now, my friends, as I said, this is going to be probably the most disturbing part of this video. This is the part of the video where I genuinely had to take a bit of a breather on, and I'm going to try and just go through this without wanting to throw my guts up, because naturally, with everything that has gone on in this situation, with all the theorizing, with all the people speaking about what they think is going on here, and with all of the very, very creepy comments, I started to notice a few pages out there commenting on Wren Eleanor's Instagram posts and even TikTok account had Wren Eleanor's name in their ads, and I clicked on their profiles and I was opened up to a world of just in general absolute degeneracy. What I found here really did actually quite disturb me, and I'm somebody that has been on the internet for a very long time. I ultimately have made a lot of videos about a lot of disturbing things, but this is just one of the weirdest things that I've seen. Now, don't worry, there's nothing explicit, there's nothing like that bad, but just the sheer nature of what is going on here with these Wren Eleanor fan accounts, honestly, is just very, very creepy. But this does actually stretch back to 2022, because in that year too, I also found a fan page which had Wren's in the bio, and of course I have blurred it out, but the entire account is basically about Wren. It would post fan edits of Wren, photos of Wren, just in general videos of Wren that they have taken from Wren Eleanor's TikTok account, which was of course posted by Wren's mother, Jacquelyn. And there's also even a highlight section called Beautiful, Funny, and Dress. But the true nature of how many people are involved in this fan base isn't really revealed until you start to look at some of the comments on this page, and there is so many people. People commenting heart eye emojis, disturbing things like this: the most beautiful baby girl, very pretty, such a beautiful girl. And the weird thing is that I found from this is that whenever you click on one of these profiles, you're either going to find somebody who has a fan account of another baby influencer, another fan of Wren Eleanor, or just in general, usually in most cases, an older adult male. Basically, every single time you click on one of these profiles, it is going to be one of those three, and I think for each one of those three, it is just as disturbing. And then you even have more fan pages commenting things like this, and the comments still don't end, and there were just so many comments to go through, and honestly, I don't want to go through every single one because they're just basically the same thing, but also they do very much disturb me. But the one I found in particular to be the worst of all of them was one that I mentioned in my previous video where, I mean, it is just quite insane. Basically, somebody said that they have taken photos of Wren and put them around their bedroom. This is the level that we are going to now. It isn't just running online accounts. There are actual people out there with Wren printed out and put on their walls. This is something happening, and Wren Eleanor's mum is still allowing these accounts to be public. She is still posting videos of her daughter every single day, despite people out there are taking those photos and reprinting them on their walls. We don't know who these individuals are. We don't know what their intentions followers are, yet Wren's mother, Jacquelyn, does still not care. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you may be thinking to yourself, well, these accounts probably don't have any followers. They're probably very, very small. It's like 5 people. No. I actually found another fan account of Wren Eleanor which has 3,500 followers. I'm not even joking. These accounts have more followers than you. This account basically has their name calling her beautiful and has a picture of her as the profile, and yeah, has 3,500 followers, and literally every single post is just edits of Wren and videos of Wren and loads of people in the comment sections commenting heart eye emojis and any other creepy thing that you can possibly think of. But my friends, as I said earlier, this is only the tip of the iceberg, because I then went to the following of that same account and I discovered the cinematic universe of Wren Eleanor fan accounts. I found this account basically right here, which looks exactly the same as every other Wren Eleanor account, and this whole account is dedicated right here to saying Wren is pretty, but it only continues to get even worse, because I then went to the following of that account and then found even more fan pages, and just look at how many fan accounts there are. I genuinely had to scroll for at least a minute to get to the bottom of these accounts. There are so many of them, and basically every single one is dedicated to a 4-year-old child. Look at how big the scrolling bar is. This is the size of a scrolling bar that has to go on for quite a while. And by the way, it's not like this is difficult to find. This is really, really easy to find. If you wanted to do your own video speaking about this subject, all you really need to do is just search the name Wren Eleanor into Instagram, and you can immediately find multiple fan accounts. In fact, you're more likely to find a Wren Eleanor fan account before you are going to find Wren Eleanor's own Instagram accounts, because Wren's name on Instagram isn't Wren Eleanor, so the first thing that come up are actually the fan accounts. And the thing is these fan accounts aren't just like not in contact with each other. In my opinion, these accounts are actually like working in some level of operation, because I found this post here, which is pretty much trying to organize groups together with Wren Eleanor fan accounts, and I know that sounds insane, but it is exactly what is going on here, and yet the mother still does nothing about this. Hey, I'm new. Why are they speaking about this like it's like they're starting scouts or something? Yeah, you're starting a new Instagram account to do with a 4-year-old baby. You're a weirdo! I started this fan page because I found myself watching Wren and Jacquelyn heaps. Wren is cute and I wanted to help support them. I also have a TikTok called Spooky Wren. If you want to be my friend, just DM me if you need any help with anything. I can help because I've made fan pages in the past. I mean, this does kind of sound like an undercover FBI agent, you know, like some guy goes up to you like, you love the weeds, broski? It's like,
you're definitely gonna get me in jail.
Like that's what's going on here, in my opinion. But ultimately, well, that's what I would like to be going on here. Ultimately, this is just somebody actually trying to organize a bunch of Wren Eleanor accounts together, and that's great because we can group them all up and then just throw them into the ocean. We can send them to jail. But yes, this is obviously an actual big operation going on with the Wren Eleanor fan account cinematic universe. Like, when they make the Netflix documentary about this situation, I hope they call it that, because that is what it is. There are so many accounts here, and I could go through every single one and read you the disturbing and creepy posts out there about Wren and what Jacquelyn is enabling, but ultimately, it's the same thing on every single profile. Some creepy said, some weird posts about the kid, people saying that she's like pretty I don't even want to say it out loud, to be honest with you. I've got neighbors, they think I'm probably a bit of a weirdo now. Thanks Jack. Ladies and gentlemen, and I know I've said this quite a lot now, but somehow after all these accounts, it does only somehow get even weirder, because when you go back to one of the first accounts that I showed you, I noticed that they actually had a section on their page called attention. And it's basically a response to the good people like yourselves and the people like myself who have been criticizing grown-ass adults for running a fan account of a child. And the response, it's not good. It's actually quite awful. In fact, it's probably the worst way they could have possibly responded, but we're going to go through it and we're going to show you the true extent of what is going on with Wren Eleanor, because this, I think, really does summarize it and summarize what the mother, in my opinion, is protecting. Hey everyone, I need to clarify something. I'm just a fan page of Wren, and I support her because she is a cute baby and she gives me positive vibes and hope for life when I see her videos. I'm
getting the word. Nonce.
And I also just want to share videos with my followers so they also get positive vibes from my videos. Why don't you just don't do that? Just don't. Spread videos of puppies or something. Not somebody's 3-year-old kid. But then it gets even worse when I go, I'm not a, Nancy boy or something, and I don't want to, children, and I'm worried about Wren's health, and I get mad when I see crazy mind people and want to use babies for their own enjoyment, and the language I'm speaking is Persian and not Arabic. Most of my followers here are Persian, and most of them don't have a Nancy look at Wren. Oh god, this is so bad. And they just want to show their love for this cute, I don't want to read this out, cute baby, and that's what's best for her. And most of the comments which you think are creepy is because Instagram's comment translation doesn't work great for the Persian language. Of course it doesn't, buddy. Of course it doesn't. You, my son, are going to jail. But yes, I feel like this is a really good summary of pretty much everything going on here. I feel like this is a great summary of what Wren Eleanor is protecting when she doesn't do anything to save her child from these comments and from these posts and from these accounts and from these fan edits and from these weird, just people who, like, I just can't believe that a real mother is enabling all of this. Like, think about this. We've just gone through one of the darkest cesspools I've ever seen. Only lightly. We've just treaded through it. There is so much more I could have gone through here, but you get the point. The content is disturbing, and yet all of the content they are posting is sourced from Wren Eleanor's TikTok account, which is posted by the mother. And that content is still being posted to this day, and these accounts are still being allowed to thrive because of that, and the mother just does not seem to care. But ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't mean that the mother's not responded to any of this. That doesn't mean that she stayed quiet on all of this. No. She has responded before. Twice, in fact. She gave 2 responses which only made things a million times worse, but ultimately do give us some reasoning behind her madness. And when I say reasoning, I don't mean justifiable reasoning, I just mean absolutely insane reasoning. So yes, gay boys, it's time for the response, and response, it's really bad. And yeah, we have the Instagram response and we have the TikTok response. Now, basically, they are pretty much the exact same response. The Instagram one is more detailed and the TikTok one is just worse and shorter, to be honest with you. So I feel like we should just get straight into it. There's no real need for any more details and go straight into the Instagram response. The past few months have been incredibly distressing and I've learned a lot. What started out as a fun hobby to make a digital scrapbook for my daughter Wren gradually grew into an interesting role for the single stay-at-home mum. Wow, you go queen, slay. Now, obviously, this immediately is a massive red flag because she starts this off by being like, oh yeah, I now make lots of money. Do ya? Do you really? Like, obviously, it's great. You've made money on the internet, and it did start off with innocent intentions, but obviously, it's gone to a dark place now. And yes, it is sad. I'm not going to lie and say I don't feel a bit bad for the fact of, oh, she's going to have to go and make money somewhere else if, she actually gets the balls to quit this channel. But ultimately, it's the right thing to do, in my opinion. Yes, it's a difficult world. It is difficult to get a job or make money in any avenue. But ultimately, I feel like the choice here is the right one to make sure that your child is safe. You are a mother. Prioritize your child over anything. That's what you should be doing. But from the very beginning, it says to me, she does not do that. This is now about her, not Wren. but Jacquelyn. But it only gets worse. Wren is my #1 priority, and her upbringing and safety are my top job 20 hours a day. As a busy mum who never set out to become a TikToker with 17 million followers, hold up, you aren't the one here with 17 million followers. You didn't post things of yourself to get 17 million followers. As much as it is your profile, the reason that you are famous, again, is because of your daughter and the things that you post of her. Now, I'm not saying that you should be like thankful or grateful, but you should be aware that the content you are posting is about your daughter and not you. But I think what is going on here is deliberate. I think she is deliberately trying to shape this as a thing of her and Wren, when ultimately 95% of the content on that TikTok account is of Wren. It's not of Jacquelyn. Yes, she's holding the camera, but people are coming for her daughter, and the only reason she's trying to spin this narrative is so she can say, it's not just Wren, it's also me. This is a duo project, a mother and daughter thing, when it's not that. But she's only saying it so she can kind of get away with everything. I now realize I should have spent more time reading the comments, which is not so easy to do with a big audience. Now, yes, at first, that probably isn't the easiest thing to do, but ultimately, over time, with all of these theories that started to go around the internet, around Reddit, around TikTok, around Twitter, around YouTube, around everything, you would have saw these comments at one point of time. This response was not the first week where she saw these comments. I can absolutely guarantee you that. These comments have been made about Wren since 2021, and this response was made in around August of 2022. This was not the first time she heard about these things. As I said, if you merely search Wren's name into Instagram, it comes up with a universe of fan accounts. Obviously, she knew about this stuff, and in my opinion, she is basically lying with her saying that she couldn't really see it because she has a big audience. That is not true. There are TikToks out there of people speaking about this situation from 3 years ago, of where people were concerned about what was going on in the comment sections and in the fan pages. But then it only, as I keep saying, gets worse when she says, I'm not sure about how this theory got started. No one has presented any real evidence, and no law enforcement agency I have conferred with has found any proof that my daughter's likeness appears on inappropriate websites. These rumors are 100% false. Now, I could, rip that apart and go into it straight away, but immediately, straight after this, she contradicts herself, because she has said that there's no proof of anything, pretty much. There's no evidence or anything like that. But then she says, I have actually turned off the ability to duet videos or download videos. And my question would be, why? Why would you turn those things off if there isn't any evidence? If the police or whoever, investigators, provided no proof that any of these things were on dodgy websites? Why would you turn these things off if you genuinely believe that there was no risk factor whatsoever? Ultimately, the reason she has said this is because she is lying. But yes, despite there being no evidence whatsoever, Wren also feels the need to justify pretty much everything going on here by going on to state that her TikTok analytics show that her account followers are 76.8% female. Now, I want to ask the question of, what defense is this? Is this the argument that only men can be predators? Now, obviously, I'm not an idiot. I don't deny that, yes, when it comes to predatory people, there is a big majority of them being men. But ultimately, I don't think it's a fair argument to say, well, wow, 76% of my audience are, women. Because that's not really an argument to make. There's still another 25%, well, just under 25% still there. That's 4 million people that aren't women appearing on your page every single day. 4 million. That's a big, big number. That's 4 million times what I've got. So yes, her implied argument here is, of course, that women can't be predators. And honestly, I feel like that is very victim blamey. I feel like that honestly invalidates a lot of people out there that have been affected by women. Now, obviously, I know this does sound like I'm being some big edgelord right now, but I'm just trying to be fair here and say that this is an absolutely stupid argument. She then goes on to say that she understands that individuals are out there with twisted minds and online predators prey on children, but then does say that never did she think that a child eating their first corn dog could be, interpreted as something devious. Now, yeah, fair enough. nobody can blame you for posting a TikTok one time of your child eating food, but if you saw a very suspicious comment on that video and then you continue to post more videos and allow more suspicious comments, then that's where the criticism comes from. Nobody was going to criticize Jacquelyn in the first place when these things first started to pop up. People would have notified her and said, hey, have you heard about this? Have you seen this? And at that very moment of time, she should have took action, but she did not. Therefore, theories started to come up everywhere, and people like me made the claim that yes, Wren Eleanor is definitely exploiting her child. But then after this, things don't really get worse, they just get even weirder, when Wren basically brings up that there has actually supposedly been an FBI investigation into this situation. She says, as false rumors bubbled away, a concerned family member reached out to the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, and in June, she contacted the FBI to discuss these fake claims, and the FBI have informed her that no images of her daughter has been found on any inappropriate websites. Now, firstly, of course, she has not provided any evidence of any FBI investigation, but secondly, the inappropriate comments don't just need to be on inappropriate websites. The inappropriate content is on your page. It is on your TikTok comments. These comments are everywhere, and you have enabled that for years. Just because it's not on supposedly these dodgy websites does not mean that it does not exist, and outright denying these things exist ultimately just enables the exploitation of your own daughter. This response is just pretty terrible, and I think the whole thing is just there to completely manipulate the situation and just make people feel a little bit bad for her because, oh, I'm the stay-at-home mom and I've achieved all the success, but that success comes off the back of your daughter being exposed for terrible people every single day. I feel like she genuinely believes that we are stupid by posting these things. She thinks that she is going to get away with this for some reason, and yes, you do have stupid people commenting things like, don't listen to the haters and stuff like that, keep doing what you're doing, and I should just say to these people, you are just as bad as a mother if you are posting these things. You are only enabling this behavior and ultimately just continuing Wren Eleanor's exploitation on a day-to-day basis. This is a terrible response, one of the worst that I've ever had the displeasure of going through, but as I said, her TikTok response is just, or if not, worse.
The past few months have been incredibly distressing, and I've learned a lot. What started out as a hobby to make a digital scrapbook for my daughter Wren grew into an interesting role for me as a single stay-at-home mom.
I said this in my previous video, but I don't doubt that there were innocent intentions making this TikTok account. I really don't. There is the sad reality of Wren Eleanor and her mother should be able to have fun on the internet. Any parents should be able to have fun with their kid on the internet. It's the sad reality that they can't because of the degenerates out there, the terrible people out there that should be in a jail cell. It is a terrible world that we live in. There are terrible people out there, and we can protect our children by doing the right things. And Wren, the reason you're getting criticism is because you don't do those right things. I can sit here and insult you and say things that you're a bad person, but ultimately you need to just understand from a calm and collected person that you're doing the wrong thing here because you are putting a young child at risk every single day. These comments are horrific, and yet you just look past them. In your original response, you said that there is no real evidence, and I just want to know why you think that when these fan accounts exist. They're available right now if you want to just search them up and go through them. We've gone through them today. There is a universe of them. There is so much, and yet you turn your head at it because, as you just said, this is now your job. You don't want to go get another job because that would be difficult, and I get that. I get we are in financially dire times, but you need to put your daughter first. It will be difficult, it will be hard, but there has to be another route than just doing what you are doing still to this day.
Wren is my #1 priority, and her upbringing and safety are my top job 24 hours a day. This account has allowed me to provide for my daughter and to set aside money for her future.
Now look, do I think that Jacquelyn needs to delete every single social media platform that she has? honestly, I would like it, but I don't necessarily think that she needs to do that. I feel like she could just post content of herself. Maybe she could post content of her daughter, but just less of it, less content that plays into a lot of the comments, because that's a big thing that Jacquelyn has been criticized for, playing into the comments, putting her child in TikToks where obviously it is going to lead to creeps commenting terrible things. Obviously, it's a very uncomfortable situation and a very uncomfortable thing to speak about, but you are going to be playing blissful ignorance if you choose to believe that these things aren't real things. And I think blissful ignorance is what Jacquelyn is doing here. It's either that or just outright lying. But yes, this response is basically the exact same response as the Instagram one, and they are both extremely manipulative and extremely terrible. And these responses did only lead to more and more people out there theorizing and speaking about this situation, and the fire was just getting increasingly bigger as the days go by. But of course, one of the things that people noted in the response was the mention of an FBI investigation. That is a pretty big claim, especially when you have FBI investigators out there who can actually comment on and speak about these things, and that is exactly what happened. So yes, the FBI investigation. Did it happen? Did it not happen? Well, this is where we need to introduce a new person to this story, and that is Tracy Walder, also known as Unexpected Spy on TikTok, who is a former CIA op and FBI special agent. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, this woman knows what she is speaking about, and she can most likely have me thrown in jail. Well, no, she can't. I live in Great Britain. But basically, she's somebody that knows this business. She knows this game. She knows when people are lying about this stuff because she's worked in the FBI, and she was actually questioned about this. Did Wren Eleanor actually get in contact with the FBI? And she actually said there's absolutely no way she spoke with the FBI about this. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this would be an absolutely monumental lie if Jacquelyn really did make it, because obviously lying about an FBI investigation is insane, mainly because that was her biggest argument, in my opinion. They couldn't find any evidence, they couldn't find any proof, and because of that, so many people continue to take her at her word and allow her and enable her to continuously make this content. In my opinion, because of this, her account is still available to this day. In my opinion, she is still posting because of this alleged lie that she made. And in fact, Tracy went on to make a TikTok where she speaks about this claim, and it's very interesting to hear because from her perspective, basically, there's almost no way that this happened, and I'm going to play it now. It is a long TikTok, but I think it's very interesting, and I think you need to hear it to get this genuine perspective from an FBI investigator about a possible FBI investigation.
As a former FBI agent, let's talk about whether or not I think that Wren Eleanor's mom has had a meeting and a discussion with the FBI about what she's done with her daughter on social media. The short answer to that is no. So look, there's a couple different agencies that do investigate the of children online. The FBI does. They have a and group. Typically though, what they do investigate are the larger networks. So the distributors, the very large ones. This is the internet, so it would be under their jurisdiction. But I don't think a situation like this is something that the FBI would hone in on and investigate, because singular incidences like this, unfortunately, take up too many of their resources. Now, the ICAC, which is the Internet Crimes Against, so that's kind of a 61 unit task force across federal and state lines, may be investigating this. They may have been tipped off on this, and they do work with the FBI as well. But I highly doubt that an FBI agent really took the time to sit down with her, because this is not a part of a larger distribution ring. Now, that's awful. I want them to investigate all of these crimes. But the sad reality of this is that there's a lot of this online. And I do think when it's a mother involved in a child in this way, people are less inclined to investigate it and to press charges, because sadly there are these huge distributors of it that obviously need attention to them as well. So I do not think that her mother is telling the truth, and I do not think that she's met with the FBI. And again, the FBI does investigate internet sexual crimes against children, but the ICAC does as well.
Now, firstly, before we go anywhere, I do just want to say a big thank you to Tracy for giving her perspective on this. It is genuinely, as I said earlier, a very interesting thing to hear, and her link will be in the description. But ultimately, yes, I think the question we should now ask is, was Jacquelyn lying about this situation? Well, I'm going to go with the opinion of, I don't think she was telling the truth. I think she was very much lying to save her skin in this situation, based on what we just heard, but also the very obvious questions of how would she even get in contact with an FBI investigator, and also Jacquelyn didn't provide any evidence of this whatsoever. If there was any investigation, surely, with all of the criticism and everybody theorizing and saying all these things, you would provide some level of evidence. But Jacquelyn didn't do that. She just expected us to take her at her word, and now that word has been disregarded by an actual former FBI agent. To me, this is a pretty groundbreaking thing. It shows that not only is this a manipulative liar, but Jacquelyn is somebody who is so willing to put her child at risk in the name of money that she is going to lie about an actual investigation from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I don't know if I just pronounced that word incorrectly, but ultimately, that is absolutely insane. But it doesn't end there, because obviously Jacquelyn loves to speak about how FBI investigators have given their opinion on this, and I thought, you know what, because Jacquelyn isn't going to provide any evidence of that, or any clips, or any audio recordings of FBI investigators speaking, instead, we're just going to actually take a clip of an FBI investigator, Tracy, giving her opinion on this situation.
Okay, so as a former FBI agent, I actually want to talk about the controversy surrounding the TikTok social media platform of a little girl named Wren Eleanor. She's about 4 or 5 years old, and her mom's name is Jacquelyn. And there's been a lot of controversy on TikTok surrounding the fact that she's basically being exploited on this platform. I've looked through it. I have to say, I absolutely believe that she is being exploited. So y'all know I don't post pictures of my daughter on my sort of open social media pages. I have one of her, but it's of her back. I just feel strongly about the fact she really can't consent to that. And this page is really about me and not necessarily about her. That being said, though, I don't have issues with, parents and kids who do these kinds of things together and who sort of know what they're doing. But I looked at this page, and this page is all about just a 4-year-old. That's it. It's not about her mom and her mom's lifestyle or anything like that. It is all about a 4-year-old. And I have a significant problem with that because she really can't consent to that. And the mom is profiting off of this. And I have to wonder, is the mom pocketing all this money, or is she giving it to her daughter, which is really who it should go to, because the reality is that she's doing the work for the page. Mom's just posting. But there's also issues too with some perhaps following the page, commenting on the page, and that is also concerning. You have to remember, when you post pictures of yourself, your children, whomever, anyone has access to that. And that's what's happening here. That includes predators. Also, there's some videos of her that people have commented sort of, why are they not flagged? Because it could violate community guidelines. And the ones they're talking about are the ones regarding exploitation of. I just want to read you the definition of how TikTok views that. It's abuse of a position of power or trust, including profiting financially, socially, sexually, or politically from the exploitation. So here's the thing. I do believe a minor is being exploited here, but I have noticed that she took down the 4th of July picture that was in question, but is not addressing it. So she knows her behavior, in my opinion, is wrong. The mom knows this. I do have to wonder who the majority of her followers are, if they are predators, which I don't know if they are or not. I don't think that they are. Then the reality is she is exploiting her child. But I'm guessing that that's why this hasn't been flagged for community guidelines. Unethical? Yes. Is she probably taking money that, in my opinion, probably belongs to her child? Absolutely. And I do think this account is highly problematic.
Now, my friends, I feel like this only condemns Jacquelyn even further, because of course now it's not just people like myself, people on Reddit, people on TikTok giving their opinions. You've got the opinions of somebody that actually worked in the FBI, and Jacquelyn is somebody that has tried to use the prestige of the FBI as a way to deflect everything, but now that has ultimately come back against her. This is absolutely wild. Going back to the very original question of this video of, are the parents responsible? Yes, I think Jacquelyn is now proven to be the most responsible person in this entire situation, because she has had so many opportunities to stop the things going on in this situation. She has been allowed the time and the space to move away from the content that she posts, yet she still, to this day, refuses to the point of lying about an FBI investigation. This is ultimate proof to me that she does not care about anybody other than herself and her bank accounts. I've regularly criticized family channels throughout my time on YouTube. It was one of my first ever videos to blow up, but honestly, I've never seen a parent YouTuber or TikToker quite like this. This is one of the most manipulative creators I've ever seen, and it genuinely shocks me that 2 years on after originally covering this situation, it only gets considerably worse. And now I'm going to actually play a clip from my 2022 video where I played an example of an actual mother who had a very similar experience to Jacquelyn, of where they started to get some creepy comments about their daughter when they themselves were posting videos of their own kid. But they didn't handle it by lying about an FBI investigation. They didn't handle it by just ignoring everything and hoping it would go away. They didn't handle it by sending out frightening emails to psychologists. No, they handled it like this.
If your children are on social media and you haven't heard the story about what's going on with Wren, you need to listen up. Wren is 3. And she's absolutely adorable, absolutely adorable. Her mom posts lots and lots of videos, and they have 17.3 million followers on TikTok, which I had a hard time wrapping my head around. It's just videos of a toddler. What moms are noticing is how many times these videos of Wren are being saved. I'm not sure if you can actually see this when my icons show up here, but this has been saved 10,000 times. This one of a 3-year-old in a crop top has been saved 45,000 times. Wren eating a hot dog at a fair 375,000 times. Then people started noticing what happens when you type Wren into the search bar. All these searches come up, and that's obviously the top searches for this thing. Most of them are gone now, but some of them were like Wren scandalous outfits. She's 3. One that still pops up is Wren pickle. People started noticing really disgusting comments that men were leaving, and they got really, really upset about it. Now, I'm not going to post any of the really disgusting comments, but I did notice that somebody posted this. She is so mature for her age. And I started thinking about, why was this comment bad? And then I realized I actually posted a video of my own daughter on my TikTok. My daughter does not have a TikTok because of all the disgusting things that happen on TikTok. But my daughter was doing the 3-2-1 bang challenge, and I posted it. And I got this comment. Your daughter is kind of cute. Not gonna lie. Hey, Seuss. I thought that comment was innocent when it was posted, but it's not. And then I realized that the video of my daughter had been saved way too many times. So I removed the video, and then I went to her Instagram page, which is private, and I found accounts like this that were following my daughter. My daughter is 12 and a half. The issue with all of the saves and the follows are that people are watching your children and doing disgusting things.
Now, this is a perfect example of an actual good parent. They identified an issue. They said, I don't want that to happen again. They cut out the source to that issue. By deleting the posts, by deleting the accounts, whatever you want to call it, they got rid of the source of the problem, because they didn't care about the money, the views, or anything but their daughter or son or child. They just cared about their kid, and that is the sign of a good parent. Jacquelyn could not do that because she is an irresponsible and bad parent. parent. But it somehow doesn't end there, because as you just saw, there was a mother speaking about this situation. There was also plenty of other people speaking about this situation. But another situation which gained a lot of notoriety recently, I can't even pronounce that word, but a situation with Wren Eleanor, which is also gaining some traction recently, involves a psychologist called Dr. Leslie, who recently spoke up about this situation. And because of this, interestingly enough, Jacquelyn actually responded. This is her third response to the entire situation, but not publicly, but by an email. And I'm just going to play the clip of Dr. Leslie speaking about it now, and it does just show how manipulative and vindictive Jacquelyn actually is. So yes, let's get into this clip.
Am I being threatened by a mom influencer? As a forensic psychologist, I've received cease and desists, I've received subpoenas, I've been sued, but I've never gotten an email quite like this. I believe you started out with good intentions, and I hope you listen to what I say. People say things on social media that they wouldn't say in real life. No, I say it in real life, and if you're doing something on social media, it's probably worse in real life. Usually we keep the names of victims private, especially if they're minor victims. Okay, so you're calling this little girl a victim. You caused a hate storm towards the family, even death threats, putting the child in danger. I think that putting phallic images and the entire world telling you that your account is causing danger is probably the primary problem. People favorite videos for many reasons, and the majority are not correct. But even if you think there might be one, you are still enabling this behavior.
Now, this is pretty much the exact same argument that one of the fan accounts made earlier, where they're like, oh, the majority of them are, these terrible people. Well, you just acknowledged that there is actually a portion that definitely are. By saying majority, you're not saying all. So you acknowledge that there are these people, and yet you still are doing this. I don't care if it's just one bad person. One is enough. When one of those people are creeping on your kids, you then say, enough is enough. Goodbye. I am ending this whole thing. But no, you continued, and now you're coming after people that rightly criticize you. That is one of the most insane things that I've ever heard, but it only gets worse.
And profiting from it. Anybody can use their mind to twist something into something. Yes, true, but if something is already 90% because it's a phallic image, it doesn't leave somebody far to go. The email states I have an obligation to not spread reckless information or anything unethical. Well, I'm also a mandated reporter, and I'm highly trained in reasonable suspicion of exploitation and child harm. I have brainwashed people, and because my video went viral, it's clouded my mind. Many of my videos went viral before you sent this email and called yourself out. People have even made videos saying they would rather have TikTok banned than allow this little girl to be exploited. People who make thousands of dollars themselves off TikTok. And let's close the email by complimenting me. I'm very impressed with everything you've done in your career, and I'm sure you're an amazing person.
This is just an absolutely wild thing, and honestly, I'm quite shocked that Jacquelyn even thought this would be a good idea to send out. Why would you possibly think anybody would take this well? This is obviously an absolutely heinous email to send, but also, as I mentioned previously, this is just an outright self-report. Pretty much Jacquelyn is aware of everything wrong with this situation, yet she is just continuing about her day and continuing to make money off her child, whilst acknowledging, because she said majority, acknowledging that there are a minority of people out there that are looking at her daughter in terrible ways and commenting terrible things, which is pretty shy away from her response in 2022, where she basically said none of these things are happening. But now, interestingly enough, in 2024, she actually seemingly does accept that and acknowledge that, but does not care. And ultimately, the question now has to be, because as Dr. Leslie mentioned in her video, what are TikTok actually doing to protect people like Wren Eleanor? Well, ladies and gentlemen, they're not doing enough. In fact, they're doing the opposite of that. Now, my friends, this is probably going to be the shortest section of the video, and that's mainly because it's pretty easy to explain what I'm going to say now, and that is, of course, TikTok are not doing enough to protect children like Wren Eleanor. And why do I think that? Well, it's because I actually made multiple TikToks speaking about this situation, and every single one was taken down for bullying and harassment. All of these TikToks, by the way, were just me basically going through comments that currently exist on TikTok. Just me saying, hey, look at this thing that is publicly available right now. And TikTok saw that and they were like, no, 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 you can't speak about things that are on our platform. For some reason, that's bullying and harassment. Rather than TikTok actually punishing the people that make these comments, they decided to punish me, and I'm not trying to make this situation about myself, but I think it is very bad on TikTok that they are basically allowing predators to speak, but not allowing people to speak about said predators. I think that is a very bad look on a platform which is constantly surrounded by scrutiny, in particular about the topic of protecting children. And honestly, as much as I like TikTok, I do not believe that they do enough to protect children on their platform, and I think that is only evident in the fact that they don't allow people to speak about exploitation on their platform. Because just removing my video for bullying and harassment without any actual reason to where the harassment or bullying is, to me, is just protecting these terrible, terrible people. Now, do I actually believe that TikTok are planning a big operation where they want to protect these people? Obviously, no. I'm not stupid. I don't think that TikTok are paying people to protect awful people. I think the problem is that TikTok just aren't doing enough. I feel like their automatic systems are terrible, and I feel the fact that it attacks people like me or people like you who just want to speak about these things, it's not great, and I think it only makes people get away with their terrible actions, because ultimately their comment sections are filled with absolute filth, absolutely terrible comments, but the algorithm doesn't care about that. The automated systems don't care about that. They care about the actual videos. And because of these terrible people not actually making videos and just commenting things, they will get away with these things. And that is absolutely insane to me. Obviously, I don't think this is some big plan, but I feel like TikTok aren't investing enough infrastructure and money into protecting children on their platform. I think they're doing the opposite of that because they're lazy and don't want to invest the money that will actually help. But also, I think it means that if they did do that, they would have to admit that there is a very bad problem on TikTok, but also Instagram when it comes to everything that we have spoken about today. But also, it doesn't end there, because TikTok actually, I was sent a screenshot, have been suggesting searches of Eleanor Wren eating a pickle. And that's just obviously extremely disturbing, and it's even more weird when you think, well, they removed my video, but they're promoting that content. And obviously it is just all an automated system, but you gotta make the system actually work in a good level. Like, this isn't good, this is horrific, and it wasn't the only person getting this suggestion. Someone on Reddit actually spoke about it and how their algorithm isn't created around this content, but then also somebody else was like, isn't this just tailored to your algorithm? But then a few hours later, that same person got the exact same suggestion. And I guess the question is just why? Why aren't TikTok not doing more about this? Well, ultimately, as I said, it comes down to one, ultimately having to admit to a problem, and two, it will probably cost a lot of money to develop a new system that helps protect these children. I don't think TikTok are willing enough to actually solve this, and I feel that they would much prefer to sweep it under the rug, just like Instagram do, and pretend it isn't a problem. As I said, I enjoy TikTok, I like it, I don't want it to be banned, but I can see an argument to how TikTok is a bad platform when stuff like this exists. I know bad things exist on YouTube, but I do believe over the years YouTube have done a lot in order to help stop these things, but also they do allow their creators to speak about these things. I'm speaking about it right now. My last video about this subject got 1 million views. They do actually allow their creators to some extent to speak about this stuff in comparison to TikTok, who do not allow that whatsoever. So ultimately, this is a TikTok problem. Wren Eleanor built her profile, well, Wren Eleanor's mother built her profile via the application of TikTok, and ultimately it is TikTok's responsibility to prevent these horrific things from happening in the future. But yes, I just kind of wanted to add that segment in there to say I don't think TikTok are doing enough. As much as this is a Wren Eleanor issue, ultimately, I feel like more can be done. But with that, it's time to move into where Wren Eleanor and Jacquelyn are at in 2024 and the overall conclusion to this story. So yes, my friends, welcome to the conclusion to this video where we're pretty much just going to conclude everything because it is a conclusion and kind of go over the question of where is Jacquelyn at right now in 2024 other than attacking random psychiatrists. Because yes, Jacquelyn actually had some positive updates in the last few weeks. And by positive updates, I mean the most minuscule things that she should have done years ago. For example, Jacquelyn has actually disabled comments on the TikTok page and has actually privated their Instagram account. Now that is obviously a good development. These are baby steps, ironically enough. These are first steps to actually having some change and protecting her daughter. But ultimately, it's not enough. These accounts are still up. She is still posting regular videos of Wren Eleanor on TikTok, and 17 million people still have access to that. So ultimately, not much has really changed. Now, there have been a lot of conspiracy theories going around about Jacquelyn and everything. I personally don't think it's really good to buy into these things, especially when there isn't really any evidence of them, because if we start to provide misinformation and take it as fact, Jacquelyn will use that in a future further response to bolster her point, to bolster what she personally thinks or at least wants to think. And I just think we should kind of ignore the crazy stuff and just speak about the facts. You've seen the screenshots, you've seen the fan accounts, you've seen the videos, you've seen the responses, you've seen the emails. That is all you need to truly understand that Wren Eleanor is at risk every single day because of her mother. No minor positive updates like disabling comments is going to fix the damage of the last 4 years. And I think Jacquelyn really does need to start taking some responsibility and accountability. I do believe that Jacquelyn will at one point be forced to making another response. Hey, it could be out before I even release this video, but I don't think any response is going to change anything in my opinion. Even if she did delete the accounts, that would be great and I would praise her for that. But ultimately, we can't ignore all of the lies, all of the deception, all of the manipulation over the last few years. It has been absolutely insane to see. And in my opinion, she doesn't even really pretend to be a good person. Her lies are so blatant and so obvious that to me, I can't help but look at Jacquelyn and generally just think, you are a bad person. I don't say that about every single person that I speak about. In fact, my next video is on the same similar lines of what we're speaking about today. As you can see, there's Jojo Siwa behind me, and as much as I think that Jojo has done some bad things, I think there are actual logical reasonings behind some of the things that she has done over the last few years. It's not a justification, but it's a bit more of an understanding other than, hey, she wants money and stuff like that. Whereas with Jacquelyn, I feel like this is an individual that generally just prioritizes herself and wants to make money, no matter how much harm it brings to her child. This is ultimately a very depressing and sad story, but I think it's incredibly important to speak about. I encourage you all to go and speak about it in your own social media spaces. If you could, please share this video because ultimately I think it's quite important. But if you don't want to do that, there are plenty of other videos out there about this. And I'm going to conclude this video by saying, Jacquelyn, do the right thing. Delete the profiles or at least change the content up to be more about yourself. There will probably be an audience for it. Whether it's a smaller audience, I think that's far more important than risking your child on a day-to-day basis. This story is one of the most disturbing things that I've ever had to look into, and I don't think we're going to have a happy ending anytime soon. Well, we actually got to the ending. This is not a scripted part anymore. I just want to say thank you very much for coming along to this video and consuming 2 hours of me speaking about one of the most disturbing things that I've had to speak about. It's been pretty depressing, and the next video is also going to be pretty depressing. There's some sensitive things I want to speak about, and yeah, we're just going to have to get through all of it. Of course, I do enjoy making these videos, but they do take a little bit of a toll after a while. And not in a sense of I don't want to make them anymore, but in a sense of like, if you wonder why sometimes they take so long to make videos, it's because, you know, you've got to mentally prepare for a lot of this. This is a lot of sensitive information to look into. And I don't think it's healthy to do on a day-to-day basis. So I will take breaks and stuff like that. But yes, I would just like to say thank you for the patience. Thank you for consuming the content. If you could please subscribe, please like this video and comment beans down below. You don't realize how much your support actually helps me. Like genuinely just a comment and a like and a subscribe can boost this video so much more. So please consider doing that if you really could. I'd sound like a dick, but it doesn't take that much effort to click like. And yeah, that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for coming along. If you've got any experiences to do with this situation or things you want to tell me or things that I've missed out, please let me know down below. If you comment something really important, I'll heart your comments or pin your comments. But yeah, thank you very much. Have a lovely week. And I hope this wasn't too depressing. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Take it easy.